everybody, I'm back with new hair, as you may have noticed if you watched my last video. It's looking pretty autumnal outside, so I thought I would go a bit deeper and darker with my hair for the next few months. I hope you like it. Today I'm doing a video about law fairs because a few of you had mentioned that you would like me to do a video about this, and it was on my list to do anyway because it's such an important part of the recruitment process. I'm always going on about networking and how important it is to build up your network and meet people from the firms you're applying to if you possibly can. And a law fair may be one of your only opportunities to do that if you're not at a big university or you're studying outside of a big city. So if you can possibly attend one of the law fairs that is going on over the next year, then I would really recommend doing so. If you're not sure when or where all of the various law fairs are on, then check out, as always, lawcareers.net because there's a huge amount of information on there, and I think they actually have a page which lists all the law fairs and dates and where they are, so I will link that in the description if I can find it. Okay, law fairs. Very easy to get right, but also very easy to get wrong. So I'm hoping this video is going to help you get the absolute most out of the law fair and help you with the recruitment process as much as I possibly can. As with anything, preparation is absolutely key. I know I always harp on about preparation, but with law fairs, this is such a key aspect. I know it can be really tempting if you're just starting out in your legal career and you're not really sure what type of law you want to do or what type of firms you want to apply to, that you might think that going to a law fair might be a good place to start, and you'll speak to absolutely everybody from all the firms and then narrow down where you want to apply to after that. But a law fair is not really what that's for. A law fair is a unique opportunity to really get to know the recruiters and find out if that firm is right for you. So I would recommend picking 5 or 6 firms that you want to speak to on the day and really planning the questions that you want to ask them, because you won't get the most out of it otherwise, and you won't get enough time to spend with those recruiters to really make a good impression on them. Having been on both sides of the desk at a law fair, so firstly as a student looking for training contracts, and then later on as a trainee on the stand giving information back to the students, one of the key pitfalls that I always see students fall into is asking questions to the recruiters or the trainees where the information is already readily available on the internet, on the graduate recruitment website, or on the firm's website, or on Law Careers. So my top tip is make sure you do your research on the firms that you want to apply to before you start formulating your questions to ask, because it's a real turn off for the recruiter if you're asking very basic questions which could easily be found out from another source. I would try and prepare around 3 or 4 questions for each of the recruiters that you want to speak to, and as I said, try and make them really firm specific. Have a look at each individual firm, see what information they put on their particular website, and think of questions that you want to ask that particular firm. All of the questions should be different. I mean, you may have similar questions for a lot of the same firms, but don't just think of a blanket 3 questions that you want to ask each firm, because the chances are they won't be applicable, and recruiters will notice that you are just going around everybody and asking the same 3 questions, and it won't look like you're having a targeted and tailored interest in applying to that firm. When you're thinking about questions to ask, try not to make them too open. So try not to ask questions like, what do you look for in a trainee, or what's your top tip for getting a training contract? Because that is such an open question, and it's likely that that firm's entire graduate recruitment website is tailored towards giving you that information. So try to ask something a little bit more specific where the information isn't available elsewhere. I know I've just said this about 5 times, but this is my key point for today, is to really try and ask sensible questions, because that's how you will be remembered, for asking something intelligent that nobody else asked and that you couldn't have got from anywhere else. Ask, for example, about the pro bono programme and whether that's something that you could get involved with as a trainee. I'm not saying that that's applicable to every firm, because some websites may have that information out there already, but pick something to ask that is not available elsewhere, and that is something that's really interesting to you and a firm will find that interesting, and something that you think that somebody else probably won't ask as well. Another good tip is to open the application forms for the firms that you want to apply to and the firms that you want to speak to before you go to the law fair. If they're open, they might not be, but if they are, open the application, have a look through the questions, and then that might give you an idea of some questions that you want to ask the recruiters to help you with your application or your interview. Another basic point, dress appropriately. I know that seems obvious, and I'm sure all of you will be dressing smartly, but dress as if you were going to an interview. I know it's not an interview, but it's kind of similar in the way that if you are going to meet the recruiter, It kind of is like an interview because they're going to meet you, they're going to know your name, and they will remember you either for the right reasons or for the wrong reasons. So you want to make sure you're remembered for the right reasons, and dressing appropriately and presenting yourself in a professional manner is absolutely the way to go. When you eventually do get to speak to the recruiter that you want to speak to, because you might have to queue up for a little while to speak to the right person, make sure you introduce yourself properly as well. Say your name and a little bit of context to who you are. For example, hi, my name's Chrissie Wolfe, I'm a second year law student at the University of Birmingham. It introduces you, gives you a strong communication with the recruiter or the trainee, and it also just gives a little bit of context of who you are so that they can remember you later on and remember your history. Also, when you're having a conversation with the recruiter, try and drop in little hints about things that you know about the firm. For example, if the recruiter is telling you about their clients or their market position, then drop in something that you've read on Twitter. For example, I read about that on Twitter last week. I read about that deal that you did and I thought that was really interesting. How's that impacted the firm? Try and keep them going in a dialogue by asking intelligent questions, and again, things that are not readily available on the internet. That will make you look like a really interesting individual and someone who has already done their research about the firm and has an intelligent brain about them, which is exactly what recruiters want for their trainees. One thing I would really recommend doing is immediately after you finish speaking with a recruiter or the trainee, make some notes. Take a few minutes just to write down everything that happened in that conversation, who you spoke to, what their names are. If you think you might forget who they are or what firm they're from, write down something that they were wearing or something about their stand, because by the time you've got to the end of the day, you may have spoken to hundreds of people potentially. So you need to make sure you remember everything about that conversation so that you can bring it into your applications or your interviews later on. If you manage to get the recruiter or the trainee's email address during the course of your conversation, then follow up the conversation the next day with an email. Not an email with loads of questions or asking for preferential treatment or anything like that, but just an email to say, hi, I really enjoyed meeting you at the law fair today. Thanks so much for all your advice. I'm planning to apply for vacation placement, which opens in a couple of weeks, and hopefully if all goes well, I'll see you in the assessment centre. Kind regards, Chrissie Wolfe, in brackets, second year law student, Birmingham University. That way you followed it up, you're not bombarding them because you don't want any information back from them, but it just gets your name in their email inbox and it just resonates with them once you've met them. They will remember you if you do it in the next couple of days. Hopefully they'll be able to picture you and think, oh yeah, I remember her. And then your name will just be recorded in their mind, which is exactly what you want when it comes to doing the application stage. Another good idea, if you can face it, is opening and starting your applications when you get back from the law fair. I know this seems like a bit of an odd thing to say because a law fair is a long day and you'll probably be exhausted at the end of it, but whenever I went to a law fair I was on a real high and I really loved meeting people from the firms, and when I got back there were a couple of firms I thought, I'm really excited about applying to this firm, I've really enjoyed meeting that person. And those good vibes will carry on into your application form if you start it then. You'll find that you put in a lot more effort and you're a lot more excited about applying. So if you can start your applications when you get home, then maybe just have a start on doing some of those. Some of the more tailored questions that rely on you having a real keen interest in applying to that firm, because your interest will be keener once you've just come back from a law fair and you've just spoken to them. Those are pretty much all the tips I wanted to give. I didn't want to make the video too long. I hope that's been helpful. I will leave you with just one more tip, and I don't want to scare you, but law fairs can make or break you. If you make a really good impression, it's likely the recruiter will note down your name as somebody to look out for in the application process. But on the flip side, if you don't make a good impression, your name may also be written down to put on the no list when you come through the application process. Law fairs are such a great way for recruiters to identify certain people they definitely want to put through and people they definitely don't want to put through. So that's why I've done this video, to really help you get the most out of it, and hopefully you will sail through the process if you can make a good impression at the law fair. Okay, so that is law fairs done with. I did want to talk to you about one more thing, which is the fact that I've had loads of comments from all of you with loads of great ideas for videos to do, and I'm so excited. Thanks so much for all your feedback. I really, really appreciate it. I'm just concerned that I've got so many ideas and I can only do one video a week, and some of them have to be broader as well, that I might not get to your questions as quickly as I want to. So I was thinking about doing a Q&A video, and if you think this is something you'd be interested in, please leave comments on this video with questions that you'd like me to answer, and in one of my next few videos I'll do a Q&A session where I'll answer all the questions that you've sent in. So I will leave it up to you to decide whether that's something you're interested in, and hopefully I look forward to hearing from you. As always, please leave me comments about this video, what you liked, what you didn't like, and please subscribe if you want to hear more from me. Good luck guys, and see you in my next video.